Is he going to be here?
The sun was going to come out.
Is he
I
gonna
need
be here?
sunglasses.
I knew it. I left my sunglasses over there, but
I was expecting rain based on this morning.
I knew Marv would come through.
Yeah.
We expect nothing less.
That's a good thing.
Dad would just, well, it was so funny because, when they started this, and like his cousins and stuff.
The stadium is. But we have to.
The school's grown so much.
Well, the school.
Well, it's a different vibe. Yeah.
Athletic.
And every single time Kendra and I have sat down to talk or do, we just sit there and cry. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do that.
You just have to let success.
Compartmentalize it.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
Well, some of our boys are in the front row there.
We all get in a circle, put our hands down?
Yes.
So,
Public? No, I don't want anything to do with that.
memorial service yesterday.
All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here in a second. Hey, it's great to see everybody out here this morning. Thank you all for coming out here to honor and celebrate Marv. You know, if you knew Marv, of course, he probably wouldn't wanted us to make a big deal out of him, but we're going to, and so sorry about that, Marv. You know, Marv was many things to many people, and he had impacts on many ways on folks. He was a father, he was a husband, he was a student athlete, a professor, an administrator, a councilman, mayor, mentor, and of course, most of all, I think everybody would count Marv as a friend. He had immense love and pride for his family, his university, his community, and you could feel that when you were around him. Today we're going to hear from people who sort of knew Marv in various capacities, and they're going to share some stories with you and their impact on them personally and on the community. Of course, we don't have the one person here with us who could speak most intimately about Marv as a husband, because Diane passed shortly before Marv did. She was the love of his life, and I thought it'd be nice just to sort of start this off with a moment of reflection for both Marv and Diane before we really get into the program. So let's just take a few moments and reflect on them. All right, thank you for that. So I first met Marv just about 8 years ago, so that's sort of my time frame of knowing Marv. I was standing outside the president's house on Illinois Street just a few days after coming to Golden, and I was, I don't know, feeling a little uncertain about being here, being a little nervous and everything. Elise and I had just spent 21 years in a very small community down in Arizona, and we didn't really know anybody up here. Weren't really sure how this was all going to work out and everything, and so a little nervous, a little uncertain, I guess the way anybody feels when they move to a new place. And I was standing out there waiting for a ride. I think Kirsten was coming to pick me up, and I think we might have been heading up to the Henderson mine that day or something like that. But as I'm standing out there in Illinois, a vehicle goes by, heading north, and just out of the corner of my eye, I see it like do a quick U-turn and come zooming around, and just like pulls up right along the street there, and this big guy jumps out, who I've never met before, obviously, and he just hops up to me, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm Marv K. You must be Paul Johnson, and just want to welcome you to Golden, and let you know I'm excited that you're here." And you know, that was sort of it. But you know, suddenly I felt like it's going to be okay. Like I really did feel welcome to the Golden community, and I think that sort of that it's going to be okay thing was something everybody sort of felt when they were around Marv. You just kind of felt good. You felt like things were going to be okay. and I really appreciated that, and I will never forget that first moment when I met Marv. I've been asked to comment on Marv's impact to Mines this morning, and I thought I'd just, there's so many different ways that Marv impacted Mines, and it's really great that we had that set up downstairs in the weight room that you could sort of see various periods of Marv and the things that he did here at Mines. But I'm just going to sort of pick three. The first thing I think about when I think about Marv and Mines is how many people he helped through Mines. So how many of you out there would fall in that category of, right, here we go, right? Absolutely. After I got here, after meeting Marv, just about every alum that I met in my first few years all had a Marv story. And it generally centered around, I would never have gotten out. That's code for graduating from Mines. Without Marv's help, right? Marv found me a scholarship. Marv found me a job. Marv got on my case. He made me do this. Marv did all those things. So I think, first of all, Marv's impact was there's a whole generation of Mines alumni who really credit Marv with making it through this place. And so that's my first thing. The second thing is, I think one of the reasons Marv was so good at that and so good at helping people is he really did kind of epitomize all those qualities that we think of when we think of ore diggers. And to me, Marv is kind of the North Star of ore diggers. He himself did not have an easy time getting through Mines, right? He had to persevere. He had to be resilient, and I think that personal experience of his is what he brought to the table when he helped people. I mean, he knew that teamwork was really important. He really had that pride in the university that we hope all of our graduates do when they leave the place. And so, I always think of when people say, well, what's sort of the ideal ore digger or graduate of Mines or something like that, I just feel like saying, go learn a little bit about Marv K, and you'll know what we hope for everybody who graduates from Mines. The other thing, in addition to the perseverance and the resilience and all those kinds of things, I think there's a really common bond between Marv and students today, and I frequently tell people that, go home at night, you can watch the news, feel really bad about the world, but if you come here and spend 15 minutes with one of our students, the world's going to be okay. I really felt the same way being around Marv. And so I think that sort of feeling that when you can be around somebody who's like that and things are going to be okay, Marv really has that in common with students today. The third thing I'd say is Marv was a connector. And, we've been building up to our Mines at our 150th anniversary. We have a strategic plan Mines at 150. We have a campaign for Mines at 150. And of course, we're all going to celebrate that next year. And there's a phrase in there that gets used over and over again, which is, past, present possibilities. And I really think of Marv as the connector between those three things. Marv is the connector to the past of Mines. He really brought all of these other things around to us in the present, and he was really excited about the future. He really liked what was going on. He really liked the direction, and he was such a great supporter of things. And in fact, we have a physical way that Marv still connects the campus. Everybody knows, of course, about Marv K Stadium, but not everybody knows about Marv K Way. And Marv K Way is the walkway that starts on the south side of campus over by Spruce Hall, comes through the center of campus all the way down to the stadium. And we named that Marv K Way when we had Marv K Celebration Day here on campus. But it goes through and past all of the historic buildings on campus, all the new buildings on campus, all of our oldest programs, all of our newest programs, and it is really a connector between Mines all the way across the campus. And so I think of that as being very reflective of what Marv did for Mines as well, which was connecting people across many generations of Mines alumni, as well as connecting Mines to the community. And so with that, we're going to transition over to Marv's impact on Golden and the community. And next up is going to be City of Golden's Mayor, Laura Weinberg, and it's your turn. But thank you, everybody, for being here. Marv would have loved seeing all of you. He would have hated the event, but he would have loved seeing you here. So thanks everyone for making it.
They told me there's a button on here to lower the microphone. It works really well because President Johnson's a little taller than I am. So lower it down so I can see you. As President Johnson mentioned, I'm Laura Weinberg, and I'm serving as the current mayor for the city of Golden. And I have the privilege today of being able to speak just for a few minutes on behalf of the city of Golden. And I also had the privilege of knowing Marv Kay over the past decade. People run for Golden City Council because they love the city, they love the people in the community, and they want to make a lasting difference. Marv served on City Council for 12 years, 8 of those as our mayor. And I know that I personally heard from him many times, as I'm sure many, if not all of you did as well, about how much he loved Golden. He said it all the time and shared it with everyone that he loved our city, he loved Golden. And I've seen today, and those that I've had a chance to talk to, and I've witnessed over the years, how much Marv really cared about the people in our community as well. And we have all benefited, whether you're still living in Golden or you only lived here for a short time while you attended School of Mines. We have all benefited from that lasting impact he's had here in our city. His impact has been tangible with many projects that he was instrumental during his time as on council and as mayor. Recreation projects such as our Golden Community Center, Fossil Trace Golf Club, our Clear Creek Corridor Trail, and Whitewater Park. He was also instrumental in some infrastructure projects, which is not surprising given that he's an engineer from Colorado School of Mines. That projects such as our wastewater treatment plant expansion, bridges over Washington Avenue and Ford Street, as well as our downtown Washington Avenue and the revitalization of downtown Golden. He was instrumental in all of those projects that we continue to enjoy today. His influence was also, and his impact was also intangible on the city of Golden, and that has been on the influence he's had over Golden leaders for many, many years, including his influence on me. So I have been on city council for 10 years, 4 years as mayor, and I had the chance to meet with Marv in many situations and many different settings. And every interaction I had with him, regardless of the circumstance, it always included him saying, "You're doing great. You're doing great things." And it also included the statement, "How can I help?" And that to me was the true leadership and character of Marv. Lifting people up with his encouragement and his words, and always, always a willingness to help however he could. So I know that the city of Golden is a much better place because of his service and love, and that his influence will last for many, many more years into the future. So I know on behalf of the city and everyone who works for the city, who had a chance to get to know Marv during his service to the city, and for the residents of the city of Golden, we are all grateful to his service, and we'll miss him here in our community. Thank you. Sorry. Was I supposed to introduce you?
Well, I'll introduce myself. My name, technical difficulties here. Good morning. My name is Heather Schneider, and I'm the Executive Director of the Golden Civic Foundation. And I'm honored to be here to celebrate one of our dearest friends and mentors, Marv Kay. On behalf of the Golden Civic Foundation's board, we are grateful for his involvement in the foundation for nearly 40 years. And he was one of our biggest advocates of our mission to invest in the economic and cultural vitality of the Golden community. So when Marv's family asked if I would talk at today's celebration, my first thought was, how the heck am I going to get everything I want to say about Marv into a few-minute speech? I mean, Marv is a legend, and I'm pretty sure everyone sitting out there today in the audience feels the same. My second thought about it was, this is something I'd go to Marv to seek his advice and guidance on. So I sure hope he's watching fondly down on all of us today, even though, like President Johnson said, he probably wouldn't like it. That said, I reached out to many folks in our community to gather some collective thoughts. And from these conversations, I thought I'd talk about three of Marv's favorite quotes. So here we go. The first one, let's move some dirt. I know where the locals are in this crowd. What you may or may not know about Golden, from the 1970s to the 1990s, it was on the verge of being a ghost town, where nearly half of downtown Golden was boarded up. Many of us, like myself and others in the crowd today that lived in those times, remember those days. What happens next is that in the late 80s and 90s, many locals call this era the glory days of Golden, where Marv just moved some dirt and he made some things happen. Everything from creating the Golden Urban Renewal Authority, passing the Golden's 1% capital improvement tax, which, by the way, only passed by 11 votes, to the Golden Civic Foundation's investment in many downtown properties. These have all made a tremendous impact on the Golden that we all love today. Mayor Weinberg mentioned a few of these projects already, including the Clear Creek Corridor, the Community Center, and a lot of the downtown development that the Civic Foundation did, including the Golden Hotel, the Table Mountain Inn, the Golden Visitor Center, the American Mountaineering Center, Gateway Station, and so much more. The second quote, you build the community from the inside out, not the outside in. Not only was Marv good at moving dirt, but during his term as mayor, he always said, you build the community from the inside out, not the outside in. Marv's main focus during his term as mayor was on the people who elected him. He always understood that Golden's small town character were the people inside the community, and that guided him in his leadership of our city. In our many conversations that Marv and I had over the years, Marv always stressed the importance to prioritize family. His daughters will speak to this next. But in this context, Marv's extended family was his community of Golden, and he was committed to the growth and success of the people and his community. And his driving force was anything that was for the good of Golden. And finally, his third and most famous quote, and personally my favorite, volunteerism is the price that you pay for the space that you occupy. When you first hear this quote, it just takes a little bit of time to digest. So with this quote, is Marv really saying that we must pay quote unquote rent to be on earth? Absolutely. He believed it was the purpose of his life, and it wasn't something he did in his spare time. Whether he was at the helm of the city, helping more than one student graduate from Mines because of his encouragement and support. Rumor has it that more than once he would invite the entire Mines football team on short notice, and his wife Diane would somehow manage to feed all the hardy football players to build the team's camaraderie. Endlessly volunteering his time and talent to where it was needed most in the community, or just simply his one-on-one advice he gave to many of us. Now imagine if all of us had that approach in our lives. We would live in a utopia. So there you have it, 3 wise quotes from a very wise man. Let's move some dirt. You build the community from the inside out, not the outside in. Volunteerism is the price that you pay for the space that you occupy. So to close today, while we're all working through our grief of losing our dear friend, we know that Marv is watching from above and simply passing the torch to future civic leaders to make a positive impact on our world. His legacy will continue to inspire us every day in our work to foster a thriving and a connected community and to continue to protect Golden's unique character as a great place for future generations. Thank you. Next up, I get the honor to invite his daughters, Kendra Sun and Chandra Polk, up to the podium.
Well, thank you very much for this amazing celebration for Dad. Wouldn't he just love seeing all of the people he loved and cared about here at the Mines Football Stadium with his name on it? Actually, probably not. Dad would be humbled, embarrassed, worried that you were all taking time out of your busy day just to come celebrate him. But of course, we all know that's just the kind of guy he was, humble, loving, and the kindest man that we've ever known. First and foremost, we would like to thank Brian Winkelbauer, Courtney Swearingen, and everyone behind the scenes who worked to make this such a memorable day for us, for you all, and for Dad. We would also like to thank everyone who is here either as a teammate, a friend, a former player, a colleague, coffee crew member, and of course, Dad's beloved family. We would also like to thank everyone who's already shared kind words about Dad. Today, we are remembering our dad and the great memories we shared that began and revolved around this school and campus. He was one of a kind and a best friend to many. We cannot express how much you all meant to Dad. Chandra.
As I'm sure you know, Dad was born on the campus. However, what you might not know is that because of Dad, Kendra and I also grew up on this campus. Kendra and I wanted to share some of our oldest and favorite dad memories as they relate to Mines athletics. Some of them include running around Brooks Field during games and being able to hang out in the locker room after, eating popcorn under the bleachers at Volk Gymnasium during basketball games, coming to work with Dad on the weekend and having the entire gym to ourselves, dropping off and picking up films at the bus station Sunday mornings in Denver, road trips to away games with Mom, which included kazoos to step in for the band to play the fight song, Mom going to McDonald's after road games and ordering 65 Big Macs to feed the team after a hard-fought victory, Dad chasing a ref across the field after a game, wanting clarification on a questionable call. Even though we never made it into Mines, sorry, Dad, Kendra and I, his nephew, and his grandkids all stayed within the RMAC pursuing our academic and athletic careers. In our family, there really wasn't another conference to even consider. Just like Dad, as we got older, we had a fierce passion for the Mines football team. Kendra and I attended a rival RMAC school at that time. We may or may not have riled up the football players at said school by betting kegs of beer for Mines to clobber them every fall. Well, after it was all said and done, Dad ultimately bought the kegs to settle our bets. More special memories that speak to our hearts is when Mom and Dad would have players over for holidays when they were unable to get home. Mom and Dad always made room for their boys at our table. When my husband and I took road trips, Dad would give us explicit directions that would only be a few minutes out of our way to go look at a tunnel or a bridge or a road that one of his players had a hand in building. Even after he left the school, Mines athletics never left him. It was always a Mines sports season year-round. Whatever the sport, he was watching. The best discovery was video streaming. There were many Saturdays frantically getting the streams pulled up on his TV before kickoff. Dad also really loved being a part of the Zoom calls during the pandemic with a group of former players. He loved keeping in touch and having virtual beers. Dad's pride never faltered, even when he wasn't the coach. Throughout all of the years that Dad coached, Mom was just as much a supporter of you all as Dad was. Speaking directly to Dad's former players, you were an extension of our family. Dad loved you fiercely and would help and support you regardless of the situation.
Our dad was the strongest and kindest person, and still is in our hearts. He was and is the best example of a leader for my sister and I, and especially his grandchildren. And in closing, Dad would want us to remind you all that in life, there are two doors, men. The best way we can honor his life and legacy would be to choose wisely. Dad loved you all. Thank you, Dad, and we love you. We all do. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brian Winklebauer. I'm the CEO of the Minds Foundation, and grateful that Kendra and Chandra have given us the privilege of hosting this celebration for Marv on the campus that he loved. We grieve with you and we celebrate with you, and please know that the Minds community will always be your family. Well, we have a lot of donors that help make this facility possible, and we are grateful to them for making it happen, and it's totally appropriate. I thought it was probably me. I probably did some. It's totally appropriate that we are celebrating here in this wonderful facility. It's got everything inside of it that the student athletes and coaches need to be successful. It's been an important facility on campus for a lot of different reasons. The person who made the lead gift for this facility had one condition. He said, Brian, you have to name the stadium after Marv K. That was it. And President Bill Scoggins, that was the easiest decision he ever made. That was an easy call. And this reflects Marv in a lot of ways, this facility. His character. It's not too fancy, it's not over the top, but it has the right stuff. It's humble, but it inspires people to be their very best. It's fostered success like we've never seen in athletics at Minds. And maybe most of all, it has brought community together like we have never seen at Minds. And that's what Marv was really all about. One of my favorite memories of Marv is when we made the announcement about the stadium and that it would be named after Marv. President Scoggins and I, we had this whole thing scripted out. We were going to make the announcement at our Evening of Excellence, our celebration dinner. And so we wanted to make sure that Marv was there at the Evening of Excellence, and we kept telling him, Marv, you got to get your family there. Oh, Brian, no, my family they don't need to be at no, Marv, you need to have your family there. No, Brian, no, So finally, Bill and I said, we probably better tell Marv what's going on, so we could get his family there. And this is when Diane was starting to not feel very well and all that. And we're like, we need to get them there. And so we sat Marv in Bill's office and told him, and as he would probably say about this event too, he said, oh, that's just too much. Brian, that's too much. Bill, that is too much. But that's really great. He actually was really pretty excited about it. What an honor. So we had this whole thing scripted, and he did get his family there. And We had Justin Dvorak, quarterback at the time, make the announcement, open an envelope. And I still can remember the cheer that went up and the reaction from 400 people. I've never heard 400 people be louder. It was just pure joy, pure adulation. And that standing ovation lasted for minutes. Marv was a foundation employee for 13 years, up until the day he passed away. He was our teammate, mentor, and friend. He wouldn't miss an all-staff meeting. In fact, he would jump on the Zoom call as well. I don't know, maybe he was drinking beer too during that time. I'm not sure, but he would always join us. He loved being part of the team, and we always had a Marv's moment of wisdom as part of our agenda, and he always delivered, as you would imagine. So we decided as a staff, after Marv passed away and reflecting upon his legacy, that we're going to try to live like Marv did. Be kind to people, lift them up when they need it, inspire them to be their very best, bring communities together, and be selfless in service to others. Marv, I hope you can hear us cheering for you once again today. Now I'll introduce one of the members of Marv's first football team, Dave Scriven, graduate of 1970.
Thank you, Brian. This is not easy. One of my greatest monikers has been I was a member of Marv's first team. Now, granted, if I was giving this talk to the Rotary Club of Tuscaloosa, that may not get a lot of traction, but in this group, it probably does. So in the spring of 1969, my buddy Rick Gardner and I show up for spring training as the last two members of our freshman redshirt team. And we looked around and we said, you know, things are a little different. We couldn't really put a finger on it. And Marv was passing around some terms that we were completely unfamiliar with. He says, we're going to make the playoffs. We had to look that one up. Make no beans about it. We were not a playoff team. And it's not that we weren't good athletes, we were. And it's not that we didn't have a great athletic program, because we did. Some of you may remember when we beat CU 103-0. See, there's people here that did. But Marv was a lot of things to a lot of people. Coach, mentor, friend. One of my friends said that without the help of and support and encouragement of Marv and Diane, that he wouldn't have got through school, as Paul was saying. You know, the list is in. And one of my friends was on the swim team that Marv coached. Now, you don't normally look at Marv and immediately think of swimming, but he must have been a fairly decent coach. They said that when they would win a match, they would meet. They didn't call them matches, a meet. They'd throw him in the pool. He sank. But one of the things that Marv was to all of us was a visionary. And as some of the former speakers have mentioned, the changes to this campus, the changes to this facility, the changes to the city from when I was in school are remarkable. And Marv had a hand in all of those things. And I'll never forget the day that we dedicated this stadium. We were playing South Dakota School of Mines, and they introduced all of us first teamers on the field at halftime. You all remember that? Yeah. And what a honor that was to see this facility and be introduced with Marv. And as we were walking off the field, I went up and I put my arm around Marv. And I said, "Is this what you envisioned 40-some years ago?" And Marv, in his kind of aw shucks attitude, said, "No, not at all." And I said, "Marv, you did." I said, you don't build something like this unless you see it first." And he did. And this reflected in Marv. And I want to thank Marv and Diane both for being who they were, and all the encouragement and support that they gave all of us as we were in school. And I want to thank Kendra and Chandra for sharing your parents at no small sacrifice, but something that we're all absolutely forever and ever grateful for. And I want to close with this. Marv, you were a great friend. And I will miss you. Viva con Dios, good buddy. Thank you. And Bob, you're up next.
Get this down here. Marv and I spent a year together in the mid-1960s in the U.S. Army in Heidelberg, Germany. We were in the same engineering group and lived in the same BOQ. It was a great year, and we had a lot of fun. And as Marv would say, we successfully defended the Eastern Front. After that, when Marv's commitment was up, the Army came out in full force to persuade him to stay. They recognized this man's leadership. Thankfully, for us, Marv had other plans. The thing about Marv was his big heart, his personality. He was compassionate, straightforward, a truly honest person, and a true leader. He felt very strongly about loyalty and that once a friend, always a friend. On several occasions over the years, I remember trying to get Marv out to play golf or meet for lunch. And many times he would say, "Bob, I can't. So-and-so is in the hospital and I need to see him." Or so-and-so lost his wife and I've got to go. And that's not to count the funerals and other visits he made over the years. These visits were not in his job description. He made these visits because friends were in need and he was there for them. It was hard to say no to Marv because of his sincerity and the loyalty you felt to him personally. One day, Marv asked me to stop by his office, and I did. He told me that the golf season started in 2 weeks and that he had just lost his golf coach. And if he couldn't find another coach, he'd have to shut down the golf program. I did not have a recommendation and said that I wasn't qualified to be a coach, that all the members of the golf team were better golfers than I was. He responded that he was looking for someone to drive the van, feed the team, and put them to bed. 7 years later, the Mines golf program was still active with the support of 2 All-Americans, Marty Jurtson and Mark Valet. We kept things going, and it was now time for me to turn things over. Luckily, Tyler Kimball came along, a certified PGA pro and coach, and was a perfect fit as history has attested. Marv was our friend, and we were his friends. And if you're a friend of Marv's, could I ask you to please stand? Raise your arm and repeat after me. Thank you, Marv.
Thank you, Marv.
For being my friend. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to invite up our athletic director, our dean of athletics, he was last week, until Friday, Dr. David Hansberg. And I'd like to have the family come on up. All right, so we're going to do something really cool here. We are going to retire Marv's jersey number, but I think, David, you should explain how this works with the players and everything. So.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for being here to honor such a great man. Obviously, many things honor Marv around campus and around the state of Colorado for all he has done for athletics. But the greatest honor that we could bestow on Marv as a student athlete is to retire his jersey, which we will be doing today. We currently have a student athlete who's a redshirt freshman who wears the number 74. And out of respect, and we know Marv would want us to do it this way, that student athlete has chosen to continue to wear that number in Marv's honor until he graduates. And once he's done, no one else will wear the number 74 ever again. So that's how this is going to work.
Been through some. That one's been in the trenches, I think. Maybe he needs to go in the washer again. I don't know. But anyway, so we've got Marv's jersey here. David, you want to do the honors of?
I guess if you want to turn your attention to the scoreboard, maybe we can all count down together from 3 to make it easy. Ready, set, go. 3, 2, 1.
All right. Well, now we're going to wrap this up in true Minds fashion in a very spirited way that Marv would love. And my understanding is this group right here, all of our members of Marv's first team and former athletes and anybody else connected with Marv athletically, just stand up for a second. All right. Thank you all for being here, by the way. My understanding is you have all agreed to lead us in the fight song. Now they're looking at each other like, who promised that one? But somebody in that group promised for you. I know that for sure. So, I'm pretty sure a good chunk of you actually know the song. So, Great job. Thank you all for being here. We have a reception. Brian, you want is up on the concourse. So look forward to seeing you all up there. Thanks so much for coming out today, and thanks everyone who's up here on the podium as well.